Vincent Sterling's manicured hand turns the knob of the staff quarters door, with the precision of a man used to commanding entire rooms with a flick of his wrist. The door opens slowly, almost soundlessly, because everything in this estate responds to his touch. But what he finds inside paralyzes him. Claire is kneeling in the center of the humble room, clutching two twin girls against her chest. They can't be more than 8 years old. One of them buries her face so deeply into Claire's lap that her small shoulders tremble. The other remains motionless, eyes wide open but vacant, as if watching everything from a great distance. Beside them, on the floor, rests an old wooden box with sides worn down by time. It's open. Yellowed papers spill out like wounds scarred over long ago, and among them, an object glimmers under the weak light of the bedside lamp. A small silver bracelet, engraved, reflecting the light with the shine of something precious. Claire lifts only her eyes. It isn't guilt in them, it's panic. The kind of panic that makes a person forget how to draw breath. Vincent stands frozen in the doorway. The irritation that sculpted his expression seconds ago has calcified, replaced by a profound perplexity. His eyes dart between the box, the bracelet, the girls, and finally, Claire. He doesn't blink. "What?" he says, his voice so low it almost disappears. "Is all this?" Claire takes a deep breath. Her hands shield the girls' backs with the determination of someone who knows she is losing everything. "Mr. Sterling, I can explain. Please let me explain." He advances one step. Claire makes the opposite move, leaning over the children like a bird shielding its hatchlings. The crying girl grips her uniform tighter. The other continues staring at nothing. "Explain?" Vincent looks around the room as if seeing invisible mold on the walls. "There are two strange children sleeping on my property without my authorization. There is an antique box I don't recognize. There are documents scattered on the floor of a house that costs more than you will earn in 20 lifetimes, Claire. And you are here, on your knees, as if you own all of this." He doesn't yell. It's worse than yelling. His tone is sharp, precise, the tone of a man accustomed to the world obeying his whisper. "It's not like that, sir. They are my nieces, Lily and Layla. They are in danger. Their mothers—" Claire chokes a little, words betraying her control. "Their mothers can't take care of them right now. They needed a safe place, a place where no one would find them." Vincent lowers his gaze to the box. He walks a few steps and crouches slowly, watching Claire like a predator that never takes its eyes off its prey. He reaches out. Claire snatches the box from his reach with a movement that is too fast, almost desperate. "Don't do that, please. Stand up." "Sir." "Stand up, Claire, now." She stands, but her hands remain on the children. The crying girl clings even tighter. The other doesn't shift. Vincent picks the box up from the floor with the natural confidence of someone used to having whatever he wants. His manicured fingers brush aside the yellowed papers. He blinks once, then again. His hand touches a faded photograph. He freezes. His face drains of color with disturbing speed. It isn't fury in his expression now. It is something far more dangerous. It is recognition. "Where did you get this?" His voice comes out different, smaller, scared. Claire doesn't answer. Her tears fall freely now. Vincent lifts the photograph. His eyes travel over the image as if reading a death sentence. The photo is old. It shows a young woman, very young, holding a newborn baby. The woman is smiling, but there is something sad in her eyes, as if she knew the smile was temporary. "Whose is this?" "The girls," Claire whispers. "It's their mother's." Vincent lowers the photo slowly. His eyes meet the twins. He really looks at them for the first time. Their faces, their eyes, the way they are connected to each other like two leaves on the same branch. "Call a cab," he says finally. And now the command is back in his voice. "You have 1 hour to get out of this house with these children. I don't want to see them here when I come down for breakfast. Please, Mr. Sterling, they have nowhere to go. Not my business." He walks to the door, stops at the frame. "And if you tell anyone what you saw in this box, if you breathe a single word about this to anyone, I will file a formal police report." I'll say you stole jewelry, that you tried to blackmail the family. Who do you think they'll believe? A housekeeper or a man like me? He leaves, closing the door behind him with a softness that is almost worse than if he had slammed it. Claire falls to her knees again. Lily begins to sob against her chest. Layla stares at the closed door, her small, empty eyes like those of an animal that has been wounded too many times and has learned to expect nothing but pain. The silver bracelet remains on the floor, gleaming under the dim light, holding secrets that Vincent apparently recognized but that Claire still doesn't fully understand. She only knows that photograph and that engraved metal are enough to destroy everything she built to protect the girls. It's revolting to see someone treated this way, isn't it? If you also think justice needs to be served, hit that like button right now to support Claire and little Lily and Layla. Vincent descends the stairs 3 hours later. The house is silent, the way he likes it. The night staff has already left. The security detail is in position. No one gets in, no one gets out without his permission. He has already seen to that. He finds Claire in the kitchen, packing her meager possessions into a worn leather suitcase. Her face is swollen from crying, but her movements are purposeful. She feels his presence before seeing him. Her body goes tense like a rope about to snap. "Get out of the kitchen," Vincent says. "You and I have things to discuss." "Sir, I'm leaving right now. Just let me—" "Library, now." She follows him because she has no choice. Vincent's library is a cold, immense room, with walls covered in books that have never been read, only purchased. The armchair where he sits is positioned slightly higher than the others, by design. It has always been this way. "Sit down," he orders. Claire remains standing. "Sit down, Claire." She perches on the edge of a chair, as if ready to bolt at any second. Vincent runs his hands through his hair, the gesture of someone used to having answers but confronted with questions he can't quite articulate. His face is a map of contained rage. "These girls," he begins slowly. "Who are they exactly?" "I already told you. My nieces. Your nieces have no records, no school enrollment, no identification documents that I can find. To most of the world, they don't exist." He observes her face with the coldness of an entomologist examining an insect. "You are asking me to believe that you, a woman who has worked here for 7 years, have 2 twin children living in my staff quarters without my knowledge? They needed protection." "Protection from whom, Claire?" She doesn't answer. Her fingers twist around one another in her lap, a habit Vincent has seen before whenever she lied. "The documents," he continues, "in the box. There are records from a private clinic, genetics, in vitro fertilization, letters from a doctor named Dr. Helen Mercer. Do you know that name?" Claire's silence is a full confession. Vincent stands and walks to the window. The night is pitch black outside, the kind of darkness that only exists when you have enough money to be far away from any city. "These girls," he says, still with his back turned, "aren't simply orphans, are they? They are something else, something someone tried to create." Claire finally speaks and her voice is small. "They are children. Just children. Normal children don't know how to sketch buildings with mathematical proportionality at 8 years old. Normal children can't solve quadratic equations in their heads." Vincent turns to her. "I left them in a room with paper and a pen, with a spreadsheet. One of them drew a truss structure with engineering precision. The other multiplied 5-digit numbers as if she were breathing." He walks toward her slowly. "So, I'm going to ask again. Who created these girls, Claire? And don't tell me it was their natural parents, because we both know you're lying." Claire breaks. The tears stream down without any attempt to hold them back. They were a project, a private research study. Dr. Mercer was trying to create children with extraordinary cognitive capabilities. She implanted them in women she paid, but when they were born, she realized she had created something she couldn't control. The mothers didn't want to be mothers. They wanted their payment and their freedom back. And you? I worked there. I was a nurse. I helped care for them in their first months of life. Claire takes a shuddering breath. I loved them. When Dr. Mercer got sick, when the investors disappeared, when everything collapsed, I was the only one who wanted them, so I took them. All I had was a temporary guardianship certificate she gave me. Nothing official, nothing legal. Vincent returns to his chair and sits slowly. Does anyone know they are here? No. The biological parents? They don't want to know about them. The police? There are no official records of them. To any authority, they don't exist. He sits in silence for a time that feels like eternity. When he finally speaks, his voice is strangely calm. You have until tomorrow morning to leave, but the girls stay here, with me. Claire jumps to her feet. No, Mr. Sterling, they need me. They are traumatized. They can't be away from me. Layla, the quiet one, she won't even speak if she isn't near me. Then they will learn. Or they won't. He watches her with absolute indifference. They have extraordinary capabilities, Claire. Talent. That has value. More value than a housekeeper can offer. I have resources, education, connections. What do you have? Poverty and a forged document. I'm taking them away tonight, Claire whispers, but she already knows it's an empty threat. You are welcome to try, Vincent replies, but know that every inch of this property is monitored. Infrared cameras, motion sensors at the gate. If you or the girls move 10 feet from your beds, I will know. Claire, from that moment on, just waits. From that night forward, she is a prisoner in slow motion. She waits for Vincent to sleep. She waits for the entire house to heave its last nightly sigh. Then at 2 a.m., she takes the girls by the hand. Lily grips her left palm with a death grip. Layla remains vacant, mechanically moving, and guides them through the dark corridors of the mansion. The main gate is 100 yards away. They manage to get 50. The garden lights snap on all at once, flooding the darkness with artificial clarity. Claire stops in her tracks, eyes squinting against the glare. Vincent steps out of the shadows to her left, still in pajamas, holding a glass of water as if nothing were happening. Wait, Claire. The cameras connect to an alarm system. You did everything exactly as I knew you would. Desperate people are predictable. He nods his head, and 2 security guards step out of the shadows, one on each side. Take them to the guest wing on the 3rd floor. Locked, blackout curtains drawn. Everything they need is there. Food, water, coloring books. He looks at the girls. They will be comfortable, just prisoners. Claire tries to move toward them, but one of the guards grabs her by the arm. You, Vincent says, will be accommodated in the staff quarters, for the last time. 3 hours later, when Vincent can't sleep, he goes down to his office and accesses the camera system. Morbid curiosity, he would call it later. Just wanting to understand how a common woman had managed to enter his home with such determination. He rewinds the footage 3 weeks. On the front porch, Claire is pointing at the mansion while speaking to the girls. Her mouth moves, silently, but her gesture is clear. She is showing them something, looking for something or looking for someone. Vincent's eyes go cold. He rewinds again and again. Now he knows it wasn't an accident. Claire didn't arrive here by coincidence. She always knew where the girls were supposed to be. The question now is, why? The footage rolls on the tablet screen. Claire, weeks ago, pointing at the mansion. Her lips move in absolute silence, but her gestures don't lie. She is teaching something to the girls. Showing. Searching. Vincent presses play again. And again. His well-groomed fingernails dig into the edge of the tablet with a force that leaves marks. He calls her to his office early in the morning. Claire walks down the stairs like someone walking to an execution. Her face looks older than yesterday. Constant panic ages people very quickly. Vincent is seated behind his solid mahogany desk. The desk is so large that Claire seems to travel a mile to reach him. He doesn't even look up when she stops in front of him. You knew, he says, pointing to the tablet screen facing her direction. You knew this house. You knew this property. You planned this. All of this. Claire doesn't deny it. Speak, Vincent orders. They have the same blood as you, sir, Claire whispers, but they won't inherit your coldness. The tablet flies across the room. It isn't a thought-out action. just the pure reflex of a man used to his reality obeying him. It hits the floor and the screen shatters. "Are you blackmailing me?" His voice is a dangerous whisper. "Do you think you're smart enough to blackmail me?" "It's not blackmail, it's the truth. They are your granddaughters, Mr. Sterling." The silence that follows is so deep it feels like the whole house has stopped breathing. No. He stands and runs a hand through his hair, a gesture of regaining control, of someone trying to reorganize a world that just lost its shape. "My daughters never had. There are no girls. I would have known. I would know about anything regarding my blood." "Yes," Claire says softly. "You would know, if you had paid attention." Vincent walks to the window. His body becomes absolutely still, like a statue of a man who discovered he was built on sand. "Dr. Mercer," Claire continues, the words coming out now as if they had waited years to be spoken. "She had a relationship with your eldest daughter, Isabel. You never knew because Isabel died 2 months after the girls were born. Complicated labor. Isabel never had the chance to tell you, never had the chance to bring the girls here and introduce them. She was already planning to do it. I was her nurse. She asked me to take care of them if anything happened." Vincent turns around. His eyes are those of a man whose certainties are collapsing in real time. "Isabel died in a car crash," he says slowly. 9 years ago. "It wasn't an accident," Claire replies. "She was rushing to come here, to bring the girls, to tell you. The car flipped because she was driving too fast, because she was in a hurry, because she wanted you to meet your daughters." Vincent leaves the office without saying a word. Claire remains alone in that vast space of wood and glass, surrounded by the silence of a man who is crumbling internally. He returns 20 minutes later. His expression has changed. It isn't anger anymore, it is pure distrust. "I'm hiring a private investigator," he says. "He will investigate you. He will investigate these girls. He will investigate this story about Isabel. If there is any lie, Claire, any inconsistency, I will ensure you never see these children again. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir." "And if there is an inch of truth in this, if you are telling the truth, then you owe me a full explanation. About everything. About how Isabel didn't tell me. About how you managed to get into this house. About why you waited all this time to bring my granddaughters here." Claire lowers her head. "Can I ask for one thing?" "No. Please." The silver bracelet. "Let me take it. Let me take the girls and the bracelet is yours. It's all I have of them. The inscription is Isabel's. She engraved her name on the bracelet for each girl, so they would never forget who they are." Vincent watches her like a surgeon deciding where to make the cut. "Bring the bracelet." Claire goes up to the room where the girls are held. Lily is lying on the bed hugging a pillow. Layla is standing, looking out the window with the closed curtains, as if she could see through the fabric by sheer force of will. "Mama." Lily looks up. The word mama comes out as a question. Claire never asked to be called that, but Lily has called her that from the start, as if instinctively knowing the truth. Claire kneels and hugs them. Her tears wet the girl's hair, but she doesn't try to stop. "I'm going to take you far away from here," she whispers. "I promise." She finds the bracelet still in the wooden box, now stored in a locked closet. The inscription shines under the light. "Isabel, for Lily and Layla, my infinity." Claire goes downstairs with the bracelet in her open palm like an offering. Vincent takes it from her without ceremony. He examines the inscription under a magnifying glass he took from his desk. His face goes pale, then red. His hands shake slightly as he reads the name repeatedly, as if the inscription might change meaning with every reading. "You said they were granddaughters," he whispers. "You didn't say, you didn't mention." A flash, a memory. Vincent at 30. A young woman beautiful with his eyes. Isabel lying in a hospital armchair, pale as paper, holding a sealed envelope and asking him not to open it until she was gone. He opened it the week after her funeral. Torn letter. Words he never finished reading because the rage wouldn't let him see the lines. "No," he says. "You stay here. You aren't going anywhere. The girls stay here, under my roof, under my care. And you will be watched. Constantly. Mr. Sterling, they need me. They are traumatized. Layla has sleep issues. Lily wets the bed when she's scared. They can't be away from me. They will learn." He cuts her off. "They have strong genes. They have talent. They have privilege. What they don't have is discipline. Order. The life my grandchildren should have. You are a reminder of neglect, of poverty, of everything they should be above." He places the bracelet in a wall safe. The steel door closes with the sound of a prison cell. "You will work here," he continues, "as a cook, not a maid. The girls will see you during meals, under supervision. You will teach them about their mother only what I allow. Any attempt at unauthorized contact and you will be handed over to the police for document fraud. Do you understand?" Claire only nods, her eyes fixed on the closed safe. 3 hours later, Vincent is in his office. The door is locked. An expensive whiskey sits half full in a crystal glass he doesn't touch. An email has arrived from the detective agency. He opens it on the new tablet he had brought in. His hands tremble as he reads. The first line of the 10-page report is clear, in bold, impossible to ignore. Subject Isabel Sterling, deceased twin sister of the subject Claire Sterling. Confirmed relationship with... But there are no more words. Or there are too many words, and Vincent can't read them because his vision is blurred. Isabel had a twin sister, and he never knew. Vincent reads the first lines of the report again, then again, as if the words could change meaning with every reread. Isabel Sterling. Deceased twin sister of the subject, Claire Sterling. Confirmed relationship with Vincent Sterling subject between January and March 2017. Anonymous financial transactions detected in Isabel's bank account during the pregnancy period. Private prenatal clinic payments. Medical documentation confirms birth of twins in July 2017. Death certified in September 2017 due to postpartum complications. Full custody of the girls assumed by Claire Sterling, then 22 years old, 6 months after her sister's death. Vincent places the tablet on the desk. His fingers don't leave it. They stay there, as if stuck. He takes a laptop from the drawer, accesses his personal archives, old photos stamped with dates from 2017. He sees himself, 8 years younger but recognizable. Skin clearer, fewer lines, less coldness in the eyes. Isabel is beside him in several photos. She wears a white dress in one of them. She's laughing. Her face is that kind of face that makes people stop on the street for no apparent reason. Not because it is physically perfect, but because there is something behind it, something spilling out. He reads the next section of the report. Communication recovered between Isabel Sterling and Vincent Sterling. March 2017. Isabel sent 3 messages informing of pregnancy. No response from subject. A handwritten letter was delivered to the subject's residence in April 2017, subsequently discovered unopened in personal files. Vincent opens the drawer of his desk. Under investment documents, real estate contracts, papers that built his empire, is a white envelope, yellowed. The envelope of someone who waited to be opened. His fingers shake when he opens it. Isabel's handwriting is small, careful, the kind that reveals she spent a lot of time thinking before writing each word. Vincent, I'm pregnant, not with one. With 2 twins girls, they have your eyes. I saw them in the ultrasounds and they have your exact eyes. I'm not writing this to give you bad news. I'm writing to give you joy. Because this should be joy, shouldn't it? 2 hearts beating, 2 people you've never met but who already love you because they already carry your mark. Please, answer. Please tell me you want to meet them. Please tell me you haven't disappeared. But he had disappeared. In March 2017, he was in the middle of his biggest acquisition. His company was still small. His heart was different. He had read the message on the phone, maybe, or maybe not even that. Maybe he had deleted it without reading. He doesn't remember. His mind erases the moments when he was someone he doesn't like to be. There is more in the report. Claire Sterling claims that Isabel attempted repeated contact. In person, 3 visits to subject's residence turned away by security. By phone, numbers blocked. By letter, at least 5 documented letters. Subject never responded. After a traumatic birth and health complications, Isabel Sterling entered severe depression. Medication was prescribed. 2 weeks before her death, she left a letter for Claire. Quote, "If something happens to me, will you take care of them? Don't let their father near. He is too good. That is why he is too good. He will care for them like he cares for his things. Well, but without love. Promise me you will love them differently." Claire kept the promise. Vincent closes the computer. He can't breathe properly. His chest is tight as if someone had put a rope around it and was pulling. He stands and walks to the mirror on the wall beside the door. His reflection looks back at him, a 42-year-old man, gray hair at the temples, eyes that learned not to blink in the face of suffering. A man who built an empire on coldness, on the inability to let himself be moved by anything. He picks up the tablet and opens the photo of the girls. The camera captured them when they didn't know they were being watched. Lily is sitting on the bed drawing something. Her face is concentrated, with that characteristic frown that Vincent recognizes because it is the same one he makes when he is solving a problem. And Layla. Layla is looking at the window, her eyes lost somewhere only she can see. But her eyes are his eyes, the exact color, the exact shape, the way the left eyebrow sits slightly higher than the right. They saw him. They carry him in their biology. And he never knew them. He hears something coming from downstairs. A cry. Delicate at first, then more desperate. A childish voice calling for someone. "Auntie Claire? Auntie Claire?" It's Layla. He recognizes it because he spent the last few days watching them through cameras, learning their sounds, their patterns, their pains. Vincent puts the tablet on the table. He stays there, staring at the girls, his girls, while the crying continues coming from below. He walks to the door. His hand rests on the knob. Behind him, on the tablet, Isabel's face watches him from a photo 8 years ago. She is smiling. That smile he had erased from his memory because it was easier to pretend it never existed. The crying increases. Vincent opens the door. He doesn't know what to do with his hands. He doesn't know how to walk down those stairs. He doesn't know how to look at those children and say anything that can repair 8 years of absence. But he goes down anyway. Claire is in the hallway with Layla in her arms. The girl's face is flushed from crying, eyes swollen, small fists clenched against Claire's shoulder. "She had a nightmare," Claire says quickly, as if justifying a crime. "She woke up looking for you, looking for Isabel. This is what she does when she's scared." "For you?" Vincent repeats the words as if they were from a language he didn't speak. "She never knew Isabel," Claire whispers. "But Isabel made me tell stories about you, to the girls. When they were too little to understand, I told them anyway, because my sister wanted them to know you existed, that you were real, that they weren't children of a fantasy." Layla looks up. Her eyes, his eyes, meet Vincent's. Recognition? No. Just fear. Just the search for safety that a traumatized child looks for in the face of any adult. "May I?" Vincent extends his arms. Claire hesitates. It is the hesitation of someone who spent 8 years protecting something precious from being destroyed. "Layla," Claire says softly, "this is Mr. Sterling. Does he want to stay with you a little?" Layla extends her arms. Children sometimes are wiser than adults. They feel the truth even when they can't name it. Vincent holds her against his chest. Her body is too small to be real. Her hair smells like cheap shampoo and something that is just childhood. She stays there, breathing heavily, her body still trembling from the crying. He places his hand on her back. His fingers, which signed eviction documents, which shook hands in billion-dollar deals, which never touched anything that was broken and required gentleness, now hold a girl who is his daughter. "It's okay," he whispers, and his voice is different from the one he recognizes in himself. "You are safe. Now you are safe." Lily appears at the top of the stairs, her small silhouette against the hallway light. "Is Layla back?" she asks. "She's back," Claire confirms. Lily descends slowly. She watches Vincent with a caution no 8-year-old should have. She studies his face as if memorizing every detail. "Are you the father?" she asks bluntly, with that coldness of someone who learned that life offers no kindness. "Yes," Vincent says. And it is the first true word he has said since he read Isabel's letter. "Yes, I am." Lily approaches. She touches his face with the tip of a finger, as if confirming he was made of the same substance as her. "You look like me," she says. "I draw you always. Until now I didn't know it was you." Vincent closes his eyes. He is a man who built an empire on the ability to feel nothing. But in this moment, with his daughters in his arms and Isabel's letter echoing in his memory, he feels everything. Claire watches from afar. Her eyes are full of compassion for the man who discovered what he lost, and also full of vigilance, because compassion doesn't erase 8 years of separation. It doesn't erase the doubt, doesn't erase the fear. Vincent doesn't sleep that night. He stays in his office, surrounded by the evidence of his own destruction. Isabel's letter, the detective's report, the photos of the girls, his face reflected in the mirror, now unrecognizable to himself. At 5 in the morning, he leaves the office and goes up the stairs to the 3rd floor. The door to the girls' room is locked, as he had ordered. His fingers on the keypad unlock it soundlessly. He opens the door slowly. Lily and Layla are sleeping in the same bed, intertwined, like 2 leaves pressed in the same book. Their breathing is synchronized. Even in sleep, they can't be apart. Claire is sitting in a chair next to the bed, the purple circles under her eyes revealing she hasn't slept properly in 8 years. She opens her eyes the exact moment Vincent crosses the threshold. Her body tenses. She stands, placing herself between him and the girls. It is an automatic action, a reflex of protection that 8 years of constant vigilance installed in her bones. "They are sleeping," she whispers, her tone not a request but a warning. Vincent raises his hand slowly, like someone being caught in a crime. "I didn't come to... It's not that. What do you want, sir?" He watches her. Claire Sterling, 22 years old when she took on 2 newborns alone. Claire Sterling, who worked as a maid in a mansion to keep 2 daughters who weren't biologically hers. Claire Sterling, who saw their father and, instead of demanding money or recognition, only asked to take them away. "I came to apologize," Vincent says. His words come out as if he had to break them into pieces to get them past his lips. Claire doesn't answer. She just watches him, like someone seeing a man behave in an incomprehensible way. "To you," he continues. "Not to them. They are children. They don't need my apologies, but you..." His voice gets hoarser. "You deserve it." He takes a deep breath. "Isabel tried to tell me. She wrote. She came here. She tried to make me be present, be aware, and I rejected her. Not because she had done something wrong. Not because the girls weren't valuable, but because I was an untouchable man back then. And untouchable men cannot have children who require them to feel something." Claire remains silent. Her guard stays up. "When you arrived here, when I found out I had a daughter I never knew, my first instinct was to take the girls, take the bracelet, take the secret, as if they were property, as if I had any right." He pauses. "But you protected them against me. You were scared, you suffered, but you protected them. That is what Isabel should have been doing, but you were doing it. You did the work of a mother while I did the work of a ghost." Claire blinks. Her hands relax slightly. "What do you want?" she asks again, but this time it is a genuine question, not a defense. "I want to know the girls, but not as a father. Not yet. Maybe never if you decide that. I want to know them as someone who recognized the damage he caused and wants slowly, to try to repair it. On your terms, according to what you think is safe for them. Vincent sits on the edge of the bed, careful not to wake them. He just watches them. Lily is frowning even in her sleep, as if solving a problem. Layla has her mouth slightly open, a thread of drool in the corner of her childish mouth. I don't know how to do this, he confesses. I don't know how to be a father. I don't know how to be soft. I don't know how not to destroy things I touch. Learn, Claire says simply. She sits in the chair again, but this time she isn't so tense. She is watching him as someone watches a wild animal that finally showed it can be trained. They like stories, Claire continues, before sleep. Lily likes stories about heroes who make mistakes. Layla likes stories about people who learn to be kind. You can start there. The days that follow aren't magic. There is no cinematic transformation where Vincent suddenly becomes a model father. He is still imperative, he is still cold, but there is something new in him, an intentional crack in his coldness, a small space he opens to let the girls in. He sits with them on the first day awkwardly, like someone who doesn't know if he should breathe. He starts, then stops. Am I going to tell a story? Lily nods. Layla watches him with the kind of caution traumatized children learn. There was a man, Vincent begins, who built walls around himself because he thought walls would keep him safe. But when the walls got too high, he couldn't see what was on the other side. And there were very good things on the other side. People. Love. Things that walls can't protect, only isolate. He pauses. One day, someone knocked on the door of those walls, and he wanted to ignore it, but the person kept knocking, and he finally opened the door and saw he had lost a lot of time. Lily watches him intensely. Did the man manage to fix it, she asks. Not completely, Vincent replies. Fixing takes time, and forgiveness, and learning, but starting to try to fix it, that is possible. It is always possible to start. Layla smiles a little. It isn't complete, it isn't full, but it is a smile. Claire watches from afar, still guarding, but her vigilance now has a different quality. It isn't that of an enemy. It is of someone seeing if the initial promise is genuine or just performance. Days turn into weeks. Vincent spends his mornings in video conferences, delegating his empires, creating space. At night, he sits with the girls. He isn't perfect. Sometimes he is impatient. Sometimes he tries to control, but he tries. Claire allows him to eat with them, then allows him to take them to the garden, then allows him to sleep on the sofa in their room, so they don't wake up without knowing where he is. A month later, he seeks Claire in the kitchen. She is preparing dinner. Her movements now have less tension. I unlocked the safe, he says. Claire looks up. Isabel's bracelet. I took it out. I thought you should have it. He places it on the counter. The bracelet glimmers under the kitchen light. The inscription is clear, undeniable. Isabel, for Lily and Layla, my infinity. Claire picks it up. Her hands tremble. Thank you, she whispers. You deserve to have this from the beginning, Vincent says. Just as you deserve to have been supported. Just as they deserve to have both. I failed all of you. Claire puts the bracelet in her apron pocket. The past doesn't change, she says, but the future is still here. The final scene happens weeks later. Vincent is sitting in the living room with the girls beside him. He reads a children's book aloud, his tone still a bit formal, but genuinely trying to bring life to the words. Lily is sketching on a notepad beside him. Layla has her head resting on his shoulder. Claire watches from the doorway, her eyes watchful but less guarded now. A truce, fragile, true, and full of hope. On the mantelpiece behind them, two objects rest side by side. Isabel's silver bracelet finally at rest, and a drawing made by Lily. The mansion, but transformed. The windows have bright colors. There is a big yellow sun at the top. Flowers surround the structure. It is as if the girl had tried to color the darkness with pure light. The protection now is no longer just Claire's, or at least, not only hers. it is a shared responsibility. It is a man who finally learned that true wealth is not what you build, but what you preserve. It isn't what you own, but what you allow to own you. The camera pulls back slowly, leaving that space of incomplete but genuine redemption. No one here is perfect. No one here had an easy life. But here, in this moment, there is the possibility of something new. There is the possibility of love despite lost time. This story taught us that true wealth isn't what we build, but what we preserve. That forgiveness is possible when someone finally recognizes the damage they've caused, and that love, even if it arrives late, is always worth it. If you love emotional stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel to join our family and get more narratives that touch the soul.